it's Roberta from Roberta's Artistic Adventures. Don't forget to go down at the bottom of the video on the right hand side and click on the gear and increase the play speed from normal to 1.5 or to 2 so the video plays faster. I am going to use the paper that I created last night and work on it, just playing around, having fun. I'm going to use some stencils and various inks and paints. And I'm also using some punchinella. This piece of punchinella is 2 pieces, and they're crossed over in such a way that it makes little flowers. It's the section where 3 of the circles meet, that little center area, and you put that over another piece, and the 3 pieces have to meet in the circle area like this, and then you can cut the excess off and then tape the edges so that you have created a new punchinella stencil. And I've done that with a few different ones. This one, the way that I've crossed them over, gives me elongated ovals and really skinny elongated ovals. And that's what this pattern is. So it just depends on how you cross 2 pieces over. I've also crossed a piece of punchinella with some mesh. You can get some mesh from a lemon bag or an orange bag or something like that. You can take a piece of this, cut it, tape the edges, and then when you get the punchinella circles, you also get those irregular hatch lines from this mesh. So you can create a lot of different types of stencils using punchinella or drywall tape, or like this one's coming apart. All I'd have to do is tape it again. But you just pull them out, tape the edges, and then you can use it to create your own stencil. So for today, I forgot. I also have this tool that I love to use. It's from Perler Beads. And it's just where you place each of the beads before you put the wax paper over and iron it. But what I like to do is to put my finger in acrylic paint or on ink, but paint works better, or even on gesso, use some gesso and rub it on and then just put it down, and it'll transfer the little dots with the paint onto your paper. So that's an interesting texture to add. Have no idea what this came from. I just found it when I was walking one day, but it leaves an interesting pattern if I dip it in paint, or if I put it in an ink pad, it will leave a real interesting mark. And then this is a top from the Dollar Tree nail art things. This one was one called Grape, but it's a circle, but it also has little little pieces that catch on the side to add, so it's not just a circle, it has little ridges on the inside. So I'm going to do some of that as well. So I'm actually going to do the marking part first, and with this one, let me get rid of my ink. With the green, you want to make sure you get some of them off the edge of your paper as well. Let me get this one up because I don't want to use this paper yet. Okay, I think we have enough of this one. Just let me use whatever is left to stamp. I'm going to use this one, but I want to use this first. I need to get another color of ink. For this one, I'm going to use this purple color called Petal. I haven't used this before, so I don't know how well those extra little ridges are going to stamp. Actually, you get a very, very fine circle with this. I like it. I can feel those ridges, and I can see little lines trying to come up. But that's only if I really press this in there. I really like the skinny lines this one gives me. And a lot of people like to do double circles, which is very pretty as well. So I'm going to do that with this one. I actually got that right on top of it. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was intending to. I really like this skinny line, so I'm going to put a lot of these on here. I've done the doubles, so now I'm going to go through and add some individuals. Okay, I think I got enough of that. Now for this one, I want to add, I'll do the, no, I don't want to do the yellow. Let's try the pink. And I'm going to put the pink over here on my mat. And let me bend this paper. This is 2 pieces of the Nina 65-pound weight paper. I just want to try to roll it so it isn't curling up on the edges. I'm going to use my finger and just dab some of this paint. And this usually takes a bit of paint to get enough coverage that you can actually notice these. Like that. Some of them you get a lot of paint, some not so much. I like the texture and the color that it leaves behind. And when I'm done with this, I need to make sure I put it in the water so that it will soak and get wet. And then use an old toothbrush to rub through to clean that extra acrylic paint off. I'm going to turn the paper around. I saw this when I had bought a bunch of perler beads at the Meijer that I worked at. They were clearancing them, and I thought, oh great, I'm going to get a bunch of those perler beads and I'm going to melt them and make those pretty gems for gluing on cards. But for some reason I can't get mine to melt the right way. I don't know if it's the oven or the altitude or what, but I'd have to pay somebody to melt those for me the way that they need to be melted that I could use them. I have a bunch of the large size perler beads, and then I have the regular small ones. For this last bit, I'm just going to slap it down and see if I can get it to make some fall off onto there. I think I'll do some on this side too, because it does tend to slide down, and it's okay that the dots aren't perfect. It's just adding color and texture. There we go. I'm going to stick it in the water. And this one, actually, the water's not coming up, so I'm going to have to use a brush on that real quick. But first I'm going to get this paint up. Put it in my excess paint book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Stencil and just add some. Okay. Just going to use a paintbrush. You want to do this right away, or that paint, as you know, is going to dry on, and the more you let it dry on, the thicker it gets, and then you won't have those real pretty little dots of paint. Need to get myself a much larger mug for this. I do have a really large mug. It holds 4 cups of coffee. But obviously holding 4 cups of coffee is my priority. So that's what I use it for. 4 cups of coffee in the morning. Alright. Here we go. I'm going to dry this real quick. Not dry all the way, but that's okay for right now. I'm going to get the green paint that I used last night called Kiwi. It's one of the brightest greens that I have. I have another one called Lime Tree, and this is a greener yellow green, but this is a more yellowy yellow green, or green yellow. some off to the side. Get a clean makeup sponge and just dab. I just love creating lots of different layers. Really makes the backgrounds on projects look very interesting. And you could do them light or you could do them dark. And these are not going to be cut into bookmarks. These are going to be probably ATC backgrounds, which I've been doing a lot of those. I think that's enough for the green one. And I have lots of green paint left over. So all I do is just pick it up with my finger and scrape it back in. And that way I can use it on another project. Now I usually make the time to add into my excess paint book. Let me show you. Like, this is a pretty page. That one's pretty. That one's not so much. This one is. This one will be pretty. And each of these are different depending on what product I had out that I was using at the time. Like that one's not so much, but it'd be covered by layer and turn into something pretty. This is a really old one. This was actually my first one. I was just learning how to do it. So in this one, it's mostly just thicker papers, although there are some that are interesting. Like if you cut a piece of it out, it would be pretty. So this one doesn't have that many pretty ones in it. And see, that was the beginner one. This one's number 2, so at this point I'm starting to figure out how to put the colors on to coordinate and make it pretty. So it gets better as I'm going along. And this one is number 3. See, that's pretty. Anyway, enough of that. Now on to Peacock feathers. And this one I'm going to do the flowers with. And this is with ink, not paint. So it'd be a little bit different. And this is also water reactive ink. So that in itself is going to be a little bit different. As I put it on, I have to remember to be careful what other paints or inks or gesso or anything else I put on. I have to remember that these areas, being water reactive, will change. If I put white paint or gesso over it, this ink will leach through and change the color of the white gesso or paint or any other color. Now if I put pink down, it might turn it to a purplish color. where else to put it. I actually want more of this. So now that I've gone through and done the bigger bits, I'm going to go over and just quickly lay out some smaller bits with whatever ink is still in here. And as you see, there's plenty. Okay, we're done with that one. I'm really liking how this is turning out. And I'm thinking at the end, I want to put some of this pavement as a splatter over this. Done with this one. And this I wanted, and I'm going to use this that has some of that ink in it, and I'm okay with that. The ink or the paint. So this is this kiwi green acrylic paint, now mixed with pale daffodil yellow. And I'm just going to put out some stars. I'm trying to make sure I cover some of what is behind, but not all of it. And I added a bunch of my larger washi tape. This is what, about 4 inches. And I put it over the edges of my stencils so that I get closer to the edge, because the edge of this is actually right there. And so if I'm pouncing, the ink is going to go off. And so I did the same thing with this one. So if you have some stencils and you want to prevent them, well, not the stencil, but prevent yourself from accidentally inking or painting off the edge of the stencil, if it's a short edge stencil, just use your washi or painter's tape or frog tape or whatever and create a new edge on your stencil. Gonna have to lay out some more paint because what I put out is already gone. Do 2 more spots of this, maybe a few more individual stars. The other thing is you can also cut your tape so that you can block off one star or a grouping of stars, if that's something that you would want. I could have done this with a glow-in-the-dark yellow paint. That would have been really pretty. Well, I didn't think about that in time, though. Okay, so I've got most of it. Now I just want to add little bits here and there. And I'm trying to be intentional in making sure I don't do more than 1 or 2 stars. Like this one, I got this little one here accidentally, so I'm going to just try to only do that. And then I got that one too. Oh well. So we'll get all 3 of them. And then over here, let's try to get these. Yeah, I'm using my finger to block it off so I don't get more than what I was wanting to. And whatever yellow I don't use, I'll just scoop it up with my finger, put it away. And done with those, not that one. So what do you think of it so far? I love all the layers. But even when you do all this, you never know what it's going to end up looking like. That's what makes this so much fun. I'm going to use this one with this yellow and the green, and I'm going to use the pink, and now I'm going to do the hearts. And I think I may add a different yellow into this and turn it to an orangey color. This one is just plain yellow. Let's see if we can make it a bright, like a neon orangey color. I'm going to use the end of a paintbrush and mix the colors together. Yeah. And actually, I don't like that color, I don't think. I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, because this is the thing. If you don't like it, you can always go over it, right? Now on this, I just want to try to do individual little hearts. Yeah, I really not liking this color much. I'm not going to be using too much of it. This would be really pretty on a different project, so I will use this mix on something else.